With Google Forms, you have the option to create multiple choice questions and then below that, create different sections or pages on your form. Then, based on the answer that people have given you on your multiple choice question, it will take the user to a different page. So a different image, a different set of questions. It just depends on what you're creating. And you can do a variety of different things with that. So let's take a look here at how this is going to look. If I wanted to create a new form for, say, just differentiating some math, I'm going to go ahead and pick a folder. I've got some examples here. So I'm going to say New Google Form. Oh, it's a shared folder I'm using right now, and that's okay. And in this form, I'm going to call this just, let's see here, keep it simple, math example. And I can start with the first question. It's an addition question. And let's see, I'll say, I don't know, which is correct? And I'm going to give an option like 1 plus 2 equals 3. And then I can give another option, 2 plus 2 equals 3. We'll see which one is correct. And so from here, below it, when I look at my different question choices or options here, I guess, the first one is for adding all sorts of questions. The last one is add a section. That's what I need right now. So I'm going to add a new section down here below. And this section is going to be if they get that answer correct. So this is going to get a little bit harder. I'll call it the harder section. I wouldn't do this for actual kids, but for our example, I want you to know what it is we're doing here. And I'll just ask another question. So it's another which is correct kind of question, just to get our sample started here. So this one's a little bit harder. 5 plus 5. Or should I say 4? And here, we'll make that the extra hard section because this kind of looks like the even easier section. 50 plus 50. Give them some big numbers. And see what's correct. All right. So there's the harder section. I'm also going to make an easier section. So I make another one here, and I'll call it easy. And since they got the first question wrong, that's the idea here, is I'm going to give them another really easy question. So this could be 2 plus 2. Oh, sorry. What is correct? There we go. 2 plus 2 equals 4, we hope. And we'll give them a wrong answer to throw that in there too. And so from here, what I can do is come up my form here, look at this question, and when I click to start editing it, I need to come down to the 3 little dots I see in the lower corner here. This is where I'm going to be able to do things like go to a section based on an answer. So you can see now why I need to create the sections first. I can't do this right when I initially create the question. So I'm going to go to a section based on an answer, and if they get this correct, then they can go to the harder section. If they get it wrong, then I need you to go to the easy section because you're not understanding the concept yet. You need some more questions. So if they were to get this first question wrong, it's kind of just an assessment, benchmark type of a question. And then if they did get that wrong and you sent them down to the easy section, you could have, 3 or 4 or 5 little simple questions here as a review. And if they nail it right away, then you can go to the harder section and you can go ahead and then start giving them a little bit tougher stuff. And even here, say if you gave them that harder question, they got it wrong, you could still send them to the easy section if you wanted to. And then lastly, I'm going to do one more and I'll call it, there's easy, harder, untitled. There it is. I don't know why that created itself where it did. Well, I do know why. Wherever you're clicked, I was clicked on this question last. So when I added a new section, it immediately added it right there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and move this section. I want to take that untitled section and drag it down to the bottom. So there you go. You can just grab an entire section this way and do a complete reorder of that. I'm going to go ahead and say save, and now it'll be down here at the bottom. So that is what I'll call my final section. And from here, I can just give them a last question, which is correct. And we'll give them something kind of simple here again. 100 plus 100 equals 200. Or, if they haven't quite figured this out yet, 100 plus 200 equals 150. Let's see if they're really confused. All right. So with that done, I've got my questions going to the harder section or the easy section. And again, I can even come to the hard section and do the same thing and say, hey, if you get that wrong, you're going to go to the easy section. And if you get it correct, you're going to go to the final section because you're done. You've got it all right. For the easy section here, this is just going to keep going, and they're going to come right to the final section. They're never really going to get to that hard one, unless you wanted them to. You could certainly say, hey, if you get this correct, I'm going to send you up to the hard one as well and make you do those questions. So you still get to do the entire quiz. It's just, did you need to go through this sort of review section or not? So let me just do that since I mentioned it. Go to section based on answer. So if you get it right, you can go to the hard section, and if you get that wrong again, well, we're not going to do the hard section. We're just going to let you keep on going through to the final. See how you do there, and you'll be finished. Or I could even submit the form. We could skip that final section entirely if we wanted to. If they're just not getting this right at all, we could skip past it. So that's an option as well. But I'll go ahead and let it continue to the next section here. That's what this chunk at the bottom of that says. And now the other one, I don't want the harder section to just continue to easy. So I have to say, look, after section 2, I could point you to another place if I wanted to. But since right here, I've already decided what's going to happen, I'm in good shape that way. So with that all done, I can go ahead and go to the preview just to see what this is going to look like. And I can say, all right, is this correct? I'm going to go with that one. Next. And of course, I get the easy section because I got that one wrong. So if I've smartened up, I got that correct, I can say next. And now I land in that harder section. I can click here. Actually, let me get that wrong. Say next, and it sent me back to easy section. So if I did have a whole bunch of questions in here, maybe I'd gotten the initial one correct and got to the hard section, I would land back on easy and I could fill this in and say next, get the answer correct, next, and then final section, I'll go here, submit. So you can create these sort of collections of answers based on how the student's doing. And here, I've done something completely different. So this is another example of how I can branch out to different pages here. But instead of just answering math questions, in this one, it's sort of a choose your own adventure story in a sense. What we've done here is created a little scenario using just the description section of the initial form, and said that, hey, in this scenario, you're in class and your teacher warns you that the announcements are over and it's time to turn off Minecraft. So kids have been playing on the computers. What's going to happen next? Well, you're lucky because you can't see your computer from the front of the room and you decide to listen and get off Minecraft. But Jimmy, who sits in front of you, is still sneaking onto Minecraft. And Jimmy makes fun of you a lot and thinks that you think this would be a great time to get him in trouble. So let's see what happens here. This is sort of a social consequences kind of a story. There's a little image in here just to remind you of what it is you're talking about. And then we get to make our choice. So are you going to, click up here for a sec, there we go. Are you going to raise your hand and tell the teacher that Jimmy's still on Minecraft? Are you going to go to Jimmy's computer and try and close it for him? You decide to completely ignore him, mind your own business, and just listen to the instructions, or you yell at Jimmy from across the room to get off Minecraft. So sort of 4 versions of how you might behave in this situation. And for the student, they're going to pick one of these options, and then based on that option, it's going to take them to different sections here. So the sections are labeled the same as the questions, so setting it up is easy. I can say, hey, option one, you go to the option one screen, two, you're going to the two screen, that kind of thing. And when you land on these pages, it just tells you what happened based on the choice that the student made. So for the student, it's a one question quiz. It's not, well, quiz is a strong word. It's a one question form for them to fill in, and then they get to find out what actually happened based on their answer. So depending on what they do, there's different consequences or results that will happen based on that decision. So it's a nice way to sort of give that um, little mock scenario for a social setting, depending on what's going on. And you could even do like a true choose your own adventure. It wouldn't even be a form exactly. You could actually have students write sections of a story, and then, does the character go through the door or go across the bridge, and have, the next section tell that part of the story if you wanted to, and do a true choose your own that way. So lots of options that way for how you might use the ability to branch to these different sections, whether it's based on math questions and how you've done, or whether it's based on some other kind of choice criteria and you want to give different results. You might circle back to previous sections and you might not, but it's nice to have lots of options for how these forms are going to look to different people depending on the answers that they give. You could have students both do your form and end up doing completely different versions of the form based on how they've answered certain questions.